Hi everyone, welcome back to another week of Tech Tips with Ashley from 34 Blast. Today's episode we're going to talk about how to identify and avoid phishing scams. We talked about scams in the very first episode of this series. Now we're going to get to a little bit more specific with the phishing scam. These scams are designed to trick you into giving up your personal information like passwords and banking details. They can come in many forms, but don't worry, I'll guide you through how to identify them and what steps to avoid falling for them. So let's get on to it. So number one, what is phishing? So it's phishing with a PH, not with an F. Phishing is when someone pretends to be a trustworthy person or company to trick you into sharing personal information. This can happen through emails, text messages, and sometimes phone calls. Scammers usually use fake websites that look real, very real. Unless you are very aware of what's going on, they look super real. It's a sneaky tactic, and it's important to know how to spot it so you can protect yourself. So how do we recognize the signs of phishing? Number one is suspicious sender. It may have the name of the person that you know and you've communicated with, let's say in emails, a number of times, but the email address is not the same. So if it was someone that their regular email address is a 34blast.com email address, but the actual email address is coming up as Gmail. Bunch of weird letters at gmail.com. So number one, check the sender's email address. It may look similar, it may be just a little tweaky, but that's a number one sign that it's not coming from where it's supposed to be coming from. Generally, a lot of phishing attempts come with generic greetings. If an email starts with "Dear Customer" instead of your name, it's a red flag. So we're talking about red flags here. Legitimate companies usually personalize messages to you. Urgent requests, and we talked about this before. Scammers often create a sense of urgency, saying you need to act quickly to avoid consequences. For example, they may claim that your account will be locked unless you respond immediately. Links and attachments. This is a big one. Be cautious with links and attachments. Hover your mouse over the links. Don't click on it, just hover on it, and it will pop up a little window to show you where it's supposed to be going. If the URL, which is the web address, doesn't match the company's website, definitely don't click on it. In fact, if it passes the other stuff with the sender's correct, all that sort of stuff, if you're still not sure, pick up the phone and call the person that's supposed to have sent it to you and say, "Hey, Mary, Tom, whoever it is, did you send me an email with an attachment or a link or anything like that?" And if they come back and say, "Nope," never click on it. Never open the attachment. Never do any of that stuff. Delete it straight away and block that sender in your Outlook or your email function. Always be wary of unsolicited communication. If you receive a message out of the blue, especially one asking for your personal information, always be suspicious. Legitimate companies usually don't reach out to you for sensitive information by email or text. Just sounds weird. If you're not sure, once again, contact them. Go back to them. You get on the front foot. You be the one that initiates all the contact with them, if that's what's required. And here's a big one. And you may think it might not be a big one, but I think it's a big one. Always check for spelling and grammar mistakes. One of the big signs of a phishing scam is poor spelling and grammar. Many phishing emails come from non-native speaking English and have common errors with spelling and grammar. If it looks weird, if it's got awkward phrasing or typos, it's a good indication that the message is not legitimate. Professional people take pride in their communication. I know I do. I reread every email multiple times to make sure I've spelt it correctly, it makes sense, there's no issues with what I'm trying to communicate to the person I'm sending it to. If it looks bad, probably is bad. Another way to obviously stop yourself from either your email being compromised is to use a thing called two-factor authentication. Now, people may not know what two-factor authentication is, but what it is to secure your accounts is either being sent with an email verification code, a text with a verification code, or you have an authenticator installed on your smartphone, whether that's Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, with rotating numbers all the time. It just adds an extra layer of security to keep your account safe. Once again, I mentioned this before, keep your software updated. Make sure it's got the latest set of updates available. You're keeping on with them. They're not provided, for no reason. They want you to stay updated and keep on top of it. Be as secure as possible. You can report phishing attempts. Most people don't know this. If you encounter a phishing attempt, report it, for sure, absolutely. Most email providers have options to mark the emails as phishing or spam, which is good. They'll keep a list of it, so they will obviously stop it before it gets to you. You can also report scams to organizations like the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Doing that is a small part of, if everyone was doing it, these scammers wouldn't exist anymore. They would be blocked out and they'll have to find another way, and we'll deal with that when it happens. But if we all work together and get rid of them all, we should be good. The last one, which is not a technical thing, not anything like that, and I've mentioned it before in other videos, trust your instincts. Trusting your instincts. If your gut is telling you this doesn't sound good, doesn't sound right, you're probably right. Most people are very smart when it comes to this, that it's like, it doesn't sound right, doesn't sound good. Just don't do it. If you're not sure, don't do it. If you're not confident, don't do it. If it's something urgent, if it's something that the bank needs from you or somebody, they'll find a way to get in contact with you, or you can initiate the conversation. So to wrap it up for this week, here are the key points to remember about phishing scams. Understand what a phishing attempt is. Recognize the signs of a phishing attempt. Be wary of unsolicited communication. Check for spelling and grammar errors, which is a big one. Use two-factor authentication. Keep your software updated. Report and trust. Trust your instincts. By following these steps, you can protect yourself and your personal information from phishing scams. Once again, and as always, thanks for joining me, and let's stay safe out there.